Welcome to the Bison Information Network News. I'm Hannah Schlosser.
And I'm Heather Vikre. The YouTube community is still reeling in shock after a female gunman shot 3 people on the campus Tuesday afternoon.
And now police are identifying the shooter who took her own life as they try to piece together what caused her to do this. Natasha Chen reports from San Bruno, California.
Terrifying moments in the lunchtime hour Tuesday at the YouTube headquarters just south of San Francisco.
We have a report of subject with a gun.
When police say Nasim Agdam walked onto the campus just before 1 p.m. local time, shot 3 people with a handgun before taking her own life. The shooting sparked a massive police response within 2 minutes of the first 911 calls.
They heard 7 to 8 shots being fired.
Witnesses described chaotic scenes as confused employees rushed out of the building.
We heard gunshots. It was really close to me because I could feel the power of the gun.
The victims, one of whom was critically injured, are now being treated in the hospital. Police are now working to piece together what happened and why. Agdam's family says she was active on YouTube, where she preached in favor of veganism and animal rights. They say she was frustrated with YouTube as she believed she was being censored. Her father reportedly said she was staying with her grandmother in San Diego and disappeared a few days ago. Her brother spoke to reporters but did not want to be identified.
We called that cop again and told him that there's a reason she went all the way from San Diego to that.
The Los Angeles Times reports a law enforcement source says officials are examining her website as part of their investigation. CNN is working to confirm the authenticity of the website.
On Monday afternoon, a woman was ejected from her car on I-94 following a crash that blocked 2 miles of traffic for nearly an hour. Officers of the North Dakota Highway Patrol stated that the 25-year-old woman lost control of her Jeep Liberty while entering eastbound I-94 from 45th Street. She ended up going through the median before being struck by another driver. The woman was taken to Essentia Health in Fargo with life-threatening injuries from the ejection, while the driver she hit was taken to Sanford Medical Center with serious but non-life-threatening injuries.
President Trump has ordered National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. It's a move that followed days of him calling for more border security. CNN's Abby Phillip has more.
Security, we're going to be guarding our border with the military. That's a big step.
President Trump officially signing a memorandum to deploy the National Guard to the border with Mexico, calling the situation a point of crisis after fuming about immigration for days.
It will take time to have the details in place, but we are beginning today and we are moving quickly.
The memorandum declaring that the security of the United States is imperiled by a drastic surge of illegal activity on the southern border.
Why is this such an urgent priority right now for the president to sign?
I think, what I would say is the numbers continue to increase. April traditionally is a month in which we see more folks crossing the border without a legal right to do so.
Data from a Department of Homeland Security study last fall indicated that illegal border crossings through 2016 were at their lowest point in nearly 5 decades, a continuing trend Mr. Trump has repeatedly bragged about.
I'm very proud to say that we're way down in the people coming across the border. We have fewer people trying to come across because they know it's not going to happen.
But late Wednesday, new Border Patrol statistics show a 37% spike in attempted border crossings in the last month. The Secretary of Homeland Security saying this when pressed about President Trump's suggestion that the military pay for the border wall.
What he meant was there are some lands that the Department of Defense owns that right on the border that are actually areas where we see illicit activity. We're looking into options for the military to build wall on military installations on the border.
The Wall Street Journal reports that U.S. officials are planning to build a wall along at least part of a bombing range along the Arizona-Mexico border. But the military installation only covers 31 of the nearly 2,000-mile-long border. This, as CNN learns new details about President Trump's tense meeting with his national security team Tuesday. Sources say the president grew irritated with his military brass when they advised him against immediately withdrawing U.S. troops from Syria, days after Mr. Trump said this.
We'll be coming out of Syria very soon. Let the other people take care of it now.
Senior administration officials say the president complained at length about the amount of money being spent in the region, telling advisors he wants troops out of Syria within the next 6 months. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders releasing a statement Wednesday night insisting that the administration will not rest until the Syrian regime is held accountable for chemical attacks, after saying this about the president's desire to pull troops out of the country.
We want to focus on transitioning to local enforcement, as well as have our allies and partners in the region who have a lot more at risk to put more skin into the game.
If you are an NDSU student with an iPhone, you may have had some issues connecting to Wi-Fi on campus this week after updating to iOS 11.3. The IT Help Desk issued an email to the entire student body this past week stating that updating to Apple's newest operating system would break an existing connection to NDSU's EDU Roam network. On Monday, IT sent a second email to students with a link containing instructions on how to fix the issue.
Coming up after the break, a look back at one of the nation's greatest civil rights leaders 50 years after his assassination.
When we come back. NDSU seniors are gearing up for the 2018 Spring Commencement Ceremony. The ceremony will be held at the Fargo Dome at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. for all students graduating from undergraduate, graduate, and professional programs. The two commencements are separated by College of Study. If you're uncertain of your college, you can contact the Office of Registration and Records. For more details about spring commencement ceremonies, visit ndsu.edu/commencement.
Civil rights icon Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated 50 years ago at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. Reverend Jesse Jackson and former Ambassador Andrew Young were there when it happened. They share memories and little-known details about that day with CNN's Victor Blackwell.
Does it feel like it's been 50 years?
Feels like it was yesterday.
It was April 4th, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. Before Andrew Young was an ambassador to the world. Before Jesse Jackson became a reverend and a groundbreaking political figure. They were two young men dedicated to the cause of equality, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it was a chilly Thursday afternoon at the Lorraine Motel.
I was talking to him, telling him he needed a coat. And he sort of raised his head to kind of test the weather. And pow.
A single shot to his chin, and King was dead. He was 39 years old. Now, a half-century later, Young and Jackson returned to the very spot where their friend and leader was assassinated.
His shoes got caught under here, and it knocked him out of his shoes.
A photographer who was staying 3 rooms down snapped this iconic image as King lay dying.
And we were pointing over there because the police were here. They were running over this way, and we were trying to tell them to go back that way. That's where the shot came from.
Do you think he heard the shot?
I don't think he heard the shot or felt it. I think it was a beautiful death. My first reaction was to be mad, and the second reaction was to say, well, if anybody is entitled to a reward, you have sure earned it. And, you know, take your flight to heaven.
Young went on to serve as congressman, as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and as mayor of Atlanta. Jackson continued social and political activism and ran for president twice.
Every move I made, whether it was a demonstration or running for the presidency, I always felt his spirit, and some way I touched base with him before doing it.
Jackson, now 76, and Young, 86, say King did not fear death. And even as they stand on the balcony that was once stained with King's blood, they're convinced that he will never die.
I've been to 152 countries. I've never been anywhere where people have wanted to ask me about Martin Luther King.
If he'd be 89 years old, he'd be just an old preacher who preached great sermons. His martyrdom is power. His spirit is alive.
Victor Blackwell, CNN, Memphis.
The NDSU Dietetic Student-Run 800 Cafe is entering its last month of operation for the year. The cafe offers healthy artisan meals under 800 calories, planned and prepared by students. The cafe takes place in the Family Life Center every Thursday and Friday from February 22nd to April 26th in the room 312. The cafe is both a dining experience and a classroom experience for the students operating it.
It's very important, especially for us, because part of being dietetics is meaning that we could be food service managers, so having the experience where we can actually run our own restaurant, see all the work that actually goes into preparing the meals. It's a very great experience for us because otherwise we can't really get this unless we do go out into the field.
It's a pleasure to run the 800 Cafe every semester. Of course, the greatest moments are when you see the light bulb go off with the students, seeing their ideas come to fruition when the customers show up and they have a wonderful experience.
Meals are $10 a person and can be purchased at the door or reserved online at the 800 Cafe's website.
It's looking like a regular white Christmas outside. Are we going to warm up anytime soon, James?
Well, it doesn't look like in the near future, but yes, coming up we will warm up. Today we reached 28 as our high and 5 as our low, but we did have a 90% chance of precipitation, though for the rest of the night it should stay dry. 72 was our humidity and 12 miles per hour was our wind today. Moving on to tomorrow, we'll have highs around 19 and lows at about 3. Precipitation 0%, we got all that we'd get today. 65% humidity and 18 miles per hour for the wind. Looking into the next week we have, Saturday will be a high of 27 and a low of 13. And yes, Sunday we are expecting more snow, with a high of 29 and a low of 14. Monday and Tuesday will be highs of 31 and 37 respectively, with lows of 12 and 26. And Wednesday we will expect a rain-snow mix with highs around 42 and low at 24. Winter is officially over, but the snow is still flying. Today at around noon, campus got hit with the fluffy snow that didn't seem to let up, making the sidewalks and roads a bit slick. The thick snowfall did not let up until about 2 p.m. After just 2 hours, the snow had stopped and the sun was shining once again. With the sun out, most of that snow we got earlier melted and the roads and sidewalks are no longer slippery.
Thanks, James. Coming up, we'll take a look at how eating out affects your hormones, and Kevin Hart is starring in a new film.
We've got that in today's Hollywood and Health Minute. We'll be right back. We all know home-cooked meals are probably healthier than restaurant food, but a new study is revealing a new reason to not eat out. In today's Health Minute, Reed Binion has a closer look at the impact fast food can have on your hormones.
It's convenient, but eating out may be taking a toll on your hormones. That's according to a study published in the journal Environment International. Researchers say dining out increases your exposure to potentially harmful chemicals. Those chemicals are called phthalates, and researchers say they can make your hormones go haywire. The study found that people who ate at restaurants and fast food outlets had 35% higher levels of phthalates than those who didn't. For years, eating foods with high levels of those chemicals have been linked to birth defects, and now scientists suspect the chemicals can disrupt hormones and cause fertility problems. Researchers say food is likely contaminated with those chemicals because it comes in contact with gloves and plastic packaging. Those same synthetic chemicals are also found in perfumes, hairsprays, and shampoos. The good news is that those chemicals only stay in the body for about a day. For today's Health Minute, I'm Reed Binion.
Previous studies have found a link between phthalates and fast food restaurants, but this new study expands the findings to suggest that link persists when eating at a sit-down restaurant or cafeteria.
From a new comedy to a sci-fi classic, we've got all the entertainment news. Here's David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
I was a couple credits shy of graduating. I gotta get my GED.
Kevin Hart is going back to school. Here's your first look at Night School, opening in September and co-starring Tiffany Haddish as the teacher he cannot charm.
This book is kind of thick. I thought it'd be more like a leaflet. If you're not gonna do the work, drop the class. Just no, I'm gonna do the work. You'll see. We'll see. Yes, we will. Great. Superb. Excellent. Good.
Guillermo del Toro and Fox Searchlight's The Shape of Water won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, and the studio wants more. It signed a development deal with del Toro that includes live-action features he'll write, produce, and direct, and his own label for horror, sci-fi, and fantasy projects, which he'll oversee.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
The newly remastered 2001 A Space Odyssey is set for quite a debut, May 12th at the Cannes Film Festival, ahead of a limited release in theaters a week later for its 50th anniversary. 5-time Oscar nominee Christopher Nolan, who worked with Warner Brothers to remaster the new 70mm print from the original negative, will introduce the screening at Cannes. Perhaps surprisingly, it'll be Nolan's first time at the French Film Festival. Back in Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
After the break, we'll have a sports update.
What do you have for us today, Jay?
Well, both Bison baseball and softball faced tough opponents this past week, and we'll see what happened in those games when we come back. Fresh off a 3-game sweep of Fort Wayne, the North Dakota State baseball team looked to continue its momentum this past weekend. They would have a tall task as they took on the defending Summit League champions, Oral Roberts. After falling behind 5-0 in the first 2 innings, the Bison slowly chipped away at the lead. They were able to score 4 runs in the top of the 4th to bring the lead down to 1. In the 6th inning, they were able to score 1 more run and tied the game at 5. However, in the bottom of the 8th inning, Nick Rotola hit a solo home run to give the Golden Eagles a 6-5 victory. The Bison now travel to Omaha, beginning with a doubleheader on Thursday at 1, with the series finishing off on Friday. The North Dakota State softball team matched up against a ranked team for the 2nd consecutive week. They had lost to 8th-ranked Arizona State 10-2 earlier in the weekend and looked to bounce back against them in the last game of the Sun Devil Invitational. Both teams were held scoreless until the bottom of the 3rd inning when the Sun Devils offense came alive. They scored 6 runs in the inning and then went on to add 1 more run in the bottom of the 4th. Vanessa Anderson hit a solo home run in the top of the 5th to get the Herd on the scoreboard, but the Sun Devils would add 2 more in the bottom of the 5th to go on to win 9-1. Like the baseball team, Bison softball will now be traveling to Omaha for a 3-game series, beginning with a doubleheader on Thursday and concluding on Friday. 2 of the hottest teams in the USHL clashed in Fargo over the weekend. With Lincoln taking the first matchup, Fargo Force looked to split the series. The Force fell behind early on in the first period, 1-0. In the second period, they came out and scored 2 goals in the first 4 minutes. Lincoln would answer back quickly and tie the game at 2. However, a Jacob Schmidt-Svestrup goal would give Fargo a 1-goal lead as they went on to win 3-2. The Minnesota Timberwolves are locked in a tight battle with multiple teams in the Western Conference to be one of the 8 teams to make the playoffs. The 4th through 8th seeded teams in the West are separated by only 1 game as the season winds to a close. The Timberwolves are currently the 7th seed and are trying to end their 14-year playoff drought, the longest current playoff drought in the league. It should be an exciting end to the season as 7 teams battle for 5 playoff spots. It's been quite a few years since Easter and April Fools fell on the same year. You guys pull any great pranks?
Well, I didn't try to trick anyone, but it looks like the Herd did.
Stay with us after the break to see your April Fool's pranks in this week's Bison on the Street. As the month of April begins, students got the chance to enjoy their spring holiday away from classes.
Even though the weather was a bit cold, it didn't stop the Herd from enjoying their holiday. Chocolates and candy were not the only things the NDSU students got to enjoy over Easter break, with April Fools falling on the same day.
My friend's birthday is on April 1st, and we pretended to forget it for about 5 or 6 hours, and then we all ended up going to his house and then celebrated it.
We got like a plush lion, and then we stuck a Bluetooth speaker in it, and at night we snuck it into his room, hid it under his bed, and then at night we played like scary lion sounds.
I had ice bags and I kept them in his pillow, and when he slept, it was super cold and he jumped over the bed.
I told my dad I dropped out of college and spent all my tuition expenses in getting a new car. So he was about to book an airplane and come all the way to the States.
She texted me a picture of herself in the hospital, and she said she needed me to go get her insurance card. So I ran up to her room and swung open her door, and I started looking around, and then she told me that it was April Fool's.
Thank you for watching this edition of Bison Information Network News.
Be sure to check us out on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Instagram.
And catch us back here next Thursday night.
Have a great night, everyone.
Is that live, you think?
Yeah.